Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Parker, here with your Quantum Human Design Energy Forecast for the week starting Monday, April the 28th. And if you haven't already signed up for my 5-day free masterclass series on how to coach people through disruptive times that starts today, I'm going to post a link for you below so you can get registered. We're going to be talking about all week in the masterclass series, how do you coach not only yourself, but your clients in ways in which they can stay connected to their authentic self so that no matter what's going on around them, no matter what's going on around in the world, they can stay connected to their inner navigation system so that even when times feel uncertain or chaotic, that they can find that inner place, that inner compass that allows them to navigate disruption. You're also going to learn about how to use disruption in your life, whether that's a health crisis or a relationship crisis or shifts and change in your job and your work situation or in your money. You're going to learn how to use disruptive cycles as catalytic points of creation to be able to push against disruption, upheaval, and use those times as a way to catalyze real growth, sustainable change, and to help you craft a life that is a reflection of the brilliance and the beauty and the magnificence of the story that only you can fulfill, only you were born to fulfill. Let's talk about this week. This is our last week in the first full creative quarter of 2025. So when you understand human design, you know that in human design, there are 4 creative quarters throughout the year. Each quarter has a unique theme, and the theme of that quarter builds on the next quarter and the next quarter, leading us through a year-long creative cycle that starts. Actually, this year started in the beginning of February, but actually starts, it's ironic, it actually starts before the last year ends. So there's almost a preview at the end of the previous year that gives us an opportunity to sort of do a review of the previous year and get ourselves clear and set up and be ready and poised to start the next creative cycle when that next creative cycle begins. So our last creative cycle began, I believe, on February the 3rd of this year. We finish up this particular creative cycle on Saturday of this week, and we start a new creative cycle next week, which I'll talk about next week. But let's do a review of this creative cycle. So this creative cycle comes at the end of a metaphorical winter cycle, right? We end the end of 2024, and the Human Design New Year doesn't start till mid-January, so it kind of bleeds into 2025. We end the year in darkness, metaphorically. And that darkness isn't bad. It's not bad darkness. It's darkness that's like the earth becoming still and quiet in the winter season, right? We are in a season at the end of the year where we are really assessing what grew well last year, what plants do we want to regrow next year in our cycle, in our next growth cycle. We're looking at what do we need to prune and get rid of, what do we need to clear out of the way to create more fertile ground for whatever it is that we're building upon and creating in this next new season. The first creative quarter, which is the one that's coming to a completion this week, has been all about getting the soil ready, if we want to use a gardening metaphor, right? We've been creating an energetic matrix to support whatever we build for the rest of the year. So we go through solar transits in this month that are about, or in this season and in this cycle, that's all about establishing the emotional energy, building the faith, doing the inner work, both in terms of assessing and growing in our own value and creating the right emotional matrix to build a foundation for what's next. As we move into this next creative cycle, we start to move into the season where we begin to do the work of the creative process. I want to make note that the creative season starts first with this inner place, right? That if we're going to start a revolution, we have to begin our personal, our community, and our collective revolutions first in here. We have to establish the right energy, the right alignment before we take right action. And so as we finish up this creative cycle, we're finishing up with creating the right energetic matrix within which we will plant and build and grow and nurture the seeds that we've been taking care of in this dark, sort of nurturing, generative season. So we end this season with the sun highlighting the 24 and the Earth highlighting the gate 44. Now the 24 in traditional human design can be called rationalization. I like to call it the gate of blessings. The 44 is all about the patterns of the past. So we're grounded in seeing the patterns of the past. Now, the combination of these two energies is so profound. I love these two gates together so much because really what the lesson is with these two gates together is what old patterns do you need to bring to a completion? And when we talk about these old patterns, it's what old patterns that are you still holding on to? Because it's on a spleen center, right? The 44 is on the spleen center. What old patterns you still holding on to that need to be cleared, released, aligned, and brought to your awareness so that you can stop rationalizing, settling for less than what you want. You're done holding yourself hostage in the arena of playing small or in the arena of mediocrity. You are done limiting yourself now. And that this whole work of this entire creative quarter has been about how do you unshackle yourself from the limitations of the past, right? We finish up with unshackling ourselves metaphorically and maybe even literally from the patterns of the past so that we can stop settling for less than what we want, less than what we think we deserve. We can start expanding ourselves to be more receptive and open to receiving everything we need that supports the fulfillment of that unique story that only you can fulfill. That's our job. That's been our job for the last few months. We're coming to the end of this season. And so this week gives us sort of a final review on what old patterns, what old hesitations, what old limitations, what old stories, what needs to get released, healed, aligned, and brought to our awareness so that we stop settling for less than what we deserve, for less than what we want. I hope you've seen a theme in this last creative quarter because we've had so much dreaming, expansion, growing, inner narrative work that's played out in this creative quarter. And of course, it's not just the Sun Earth. All of the little celestial players have been doing their part in bringing us a whopping big education in how do we get reconnected with our true authentic selves? How do we regulate our inner and outer environment so that we can be fully supported in the fulfillment of our true story? How do we get connected to not only our ego and our life purpose, but our soul purpose? How do we integrate our life and soul purpose? And how do we bring that together in a rich and juicy expression of our relentlessly authentic self? That's been our job. Hopefully you've had a good time exploring the true story of who you are. And as we come to a completion, we get one final chance to release all of this stuff. Now it's lovely because we start the week off actually also with a new moon, which means we're sort of doing this end cycle of completion and this new cycle of beginnings, moving us into the next creative quarter, which begins with, not by coincidence, Sun highlighting the gate 2, again, inviting us to ask ourselves, how good can we allow it? How much goodness are we willing to allow ourselves to receive in the name of fulfilling our true, authentic, relentlessly authentic narrative story, the true expression of who we were born to be? So we've got these 2 weeks of really playing with the idea of, am I being supported? Am I allowing my support? Am I creating my support? Do I believe I can be supported? What do I need to do to believe that I can be supported? What do I need to do to access more support? It's such a wonderful 2-week contemplation around where we might be shutting down those gates of receptivity and what do we need to do to bust those gates wide open so that you can position yourself to receive everything you deserve to receive. And if you've forgotten, it's a lot. You deserve to receive a lot. And there isn't anything you have to do to earn that. You deserve to be supported because you exist. I'm going to say that again, especially for my projector friends, okay? You deserve to be supported because you exist, because your very existence is a unique, once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event. There's literally never been anybody like you before, and there literally will never be anybody like you again in this entire cosmos. And because you are so inherently precious, because of your existence, you also deserve to be supported. And so these next 2 weeks, we're really being invited to deeply explore how much support are we willing to allow. Now, I want to bring us back to cosmic tangos. This is part 2 of this energy forecast, cosmic tangos. And last week we talked about the cosmic tango between Saturn and Venus. This week we see another cosmic tango between Venus and Neptune, both highlighting the gate 21, which is the place where our higher purpose lives. This is the place where Our soul purpose lives in the chart. And so as we're doing this big work around how much goodness am I willing to allow? How much am I willing to allow myself to be supported? We're also being invited to ask a second question and really go deep with this one too. How much do I trust in spirit, source, God, the universe, whatever word you want to use? How much do I trust in my support? Do I trust that I am a unique and vital once in a lifetime cosmic event? And do I trust in the value of this narrative that is mine to fulfill? And do I trust that there's a cosmic force of goodness that is inherently supporting me simply because of my existence? So it's definitely an invitation this week too, as we look at how much support am I willing to allow? How much goodness am I willing to receive? How much receptivity do I have to my support? As we explore these questions, we're also being asked to explore the question, and how much do I trust in my source? How much do I trust in God? How much do I trust in the bigger picture of my existence and the higher purpose of who I am? And do I believe that this higher purpose of who I am, that only I can fulfill, is worthy enough that I'm supported? Do I see all my support? Do I trust in my support? Does my awareness of my support me in being able to take bold steps, quantum leaps of faith in the fulfillment of my dreams, my visions, my hopes, my directives, my prime directives from source? Do I trust that I'm going to be supported in fulfilling my cosmic purpose, my soul purpose? And do I let that support, that awareness of that support, allow me to be carried by faith? That's it for this week. It's pretty simple. And in fact, I would say it's a little bit of maybe a breathing room in some of the intensity of some of the weather we've had lately in the last few months. It's not all over. June, I think we'll see a little bit of a reprieve in some of the chaos, but certainly this week gives us, and next week too, gives us an opportunity to take a little bit of a pause, to really work on ourselves, to really reflect on our ability to allow and receive support, and to learn to really work on our relationship with the cosmos, whatever word you want to give it, so that we are operating in the world from a place of trust in our support. You deserve to be supported because you deserve to be supported. There's nothing you have to do to earn that support. You are a once-in-a-lifetime cosmic event. You deserve to be supported. Have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. Bye.